Absolutely. Thank you. Let me just ask you a question about the FAA reauthorization or tied to it, and thank you for mentioning it a couple of times now, Mr. McGee, particularly the automatic refunds portion. That was my amendment with Senator Warren.
We're well aware of it, Senator, and we appreciate it.
I'm glad that we were able to get it passed. Something else that the FAA did on a bipartisan basis, that reauthorization bill, was direct or authorize the Department of Transportation to issue rules making sure that families can sit with their children. And I can say, as a father of three young children, this is something that's really important to families. Now, a lot of times passengers feel like they should be paid next to my children, and maybe there's something to that. But I just want to ask, Mr. Anderson, DOT maintains a list of airlines that are currently complying with this and allow families to sit with their children next to them. The children are ticketed passengers. I just want to clarify, this isn't free tickets. But they allow the children to sit next to parents at no additional seat charge.
You won't believe the heated exchange that happened in this meeting. It started off calm, but quickly turned into a serious reality check. Let's break it down step by step.
Now, according to the dashboard that DOT has, your airline is not one of them, meaning there's Allegiant right there with the big red X, meaning that you are charging families additional money over and above the child's ticket in order to sit next to parents. I'm hoping maybe you'll tell me this is wrong. Is this accurate?
Senator Hawley, as a father of 4 young children, it's a very important issue to me as well. We, in practice, nearly always accommodate our families. Our gate agents are trained and empowered to make sure it happens. And over the past few years, I think there's only been a handful of times in which we haven't been able to accommodate families to sit together.
Am I hearing you to say that doesn't sound like a yes? Am I hearing you to say that your policy is not to provide seating for families, that if they may have to pay a fee depending on the circumstances? Is that right? Is that why you have an X, or is this wrong? I'd love to hear you say that this is just incorrect. Like all of these other airlines that have green checks, we do not charge additional fees for children who have already paid. They already have a ticket. They're ticketed. But your airline apparently is charging additional fees. I just want to know, are you still doing that? It sounds to me like you are, but please tell me that I'm wrong.
You're not wrong in the fact that we do have a red X on the DOT tracker there.
Why do you do that? Can you change that? I mean, can you tell us today that you're going to do what your other peer airlines do, and you're going to quit charging families extra to sit next to their parents? I mean, we're talking about kids who are 13 years of age and younger. This isn't like the 18-year-old who probably doesn't want to sit next to his parents anyway. I mean, these are it's like my 4-year-old little girl. I mean, I kind of like to have her next to me and I've already paid for her and not have to pay again. So I guess I don't understand. I know it's money, but, I mean, don't you think that keeping families together is, kind of important? You kids have already paid.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and stick around for more simple and dramatic retellings of big political and celebrity moments.
Very important.
Okay, good. Will you commit then to ending this policy of charging additional fees?
Senator, in practice, we accommodate our families to sit together without paying additional fees. Our gate agents are trained and empowered.
Well, you do it when you can, but your policy is you can charge them if it comes down to it. So will you just say here today, we're going to stop doing that. We're not going to charge additional fees for families with young kids. This could be a big moment. This could be news.
Yes, we will. There were some technology issues that we're working through. We transformed our system, but we will look into this and explore the Red X.
Okay. Well, it would. Maybe what we need to do is we just need to make it law. I mean, maybe Congress is just going to have to outright mandate it. We hear all the time, you guys come up here and you say, don't regulate us, don't tell us what to do. Well, I mean, there's a reason that sometimes we have to, and this is the reason. Let me ask you about something else. Can I just say for the record, I think it's ridiculous that anybody is charging families who already paid for tickets with small children, charging them extra in order to have the kids next to them, making profit on it. I mean, I just think that's kind of predatory. I think it's really predatory, actually. But let me ask you this. Dynamic seat pricing, which I think both Frontier and Allegiant engage in. Tell me if I'm wrong, but this is where you may charge me one fee and Katie Britt a different fee and Cory Booker yet a third fee for the same seat on the airline. It just depends. It's dynamic. There's no set fee. Why are you're shaking your head no, Mr. Biffle, so you don't do dynamic seat pricing?
So let's clarify dynamic seat pricing.
That price changes. It's not set.
Yeah, but it's set by route, not by individual customer.
Okay, so you don't collect personal information before people can see a price?
No, we don't use personal information.
You collect it though.
We collect it, but we don't charge you differently.
Well, how do I know that? You collect zip code, you use browser cookies, location information, search history, you collect date of birth, you collect gobs of stuff. I got to enter all of that before I can see a seat price. And my seat price may well be different than what Corey gets, depending on what he enters.
Well, I will tell you, we've been changing that. I have to have your date of birth to buy the ticket. That is actually a clunky, back to technology things. We're changing that so you won't have to do hardly anything. I want you to be able to search and click quickly. So
Absolutely. Thank you. Let me just ask a question about the FAA reauthorization or something tied to it. And thank you for bringing it up a few times already, Mr. McGee, especially the part about automatic refunds. That was actually my amendment with Senator Warren. We're well aware of it, Senator, and we appreciate it, he replies. I'm happy that we were able to get it passed. Another thing that the FAA did on a bipartisan basis through that reauthorization bill was to direct or authorize the Department of Transportation to create rules making sure families can sit with their kids. And as a father of 3 young children, I can tell you this is a big deal for families. A lot of the time, passengers probably feel like they should be paid to sit next to my kids, and honestly, maybe that's fair, but still, this is something important. I want to ask Mr. Anderson something. The DOT has a list that shows which airlines are following this rule. The rule that says families can sit with their ticketed kids without paying extra seat fees. This doesn't mean free tickets. It just means no extra charge for sitting together. But according to the DOT's dashboard, your airline is not on that list. There's a big red X next to Allegiant, meaning your airline charges families extra money on top of a child's ticket to sit next to a parent. I'm hoping you'll tell me this is wrong. Is that true? Senator Hawley, as a father of 4 young children, this issue matters to me too, Mr. Anderson says. In practice, we almost always help families sit together. Our gate agents are trained and allowed to make it happen. Over the past few years, it's only been a handful of times when we couldn't do it. But that doesn't sound like a clear yes. Am I hearing you say your official policy isn't to guarantee free seating for families? That they might have to pay depending on the situation? Is that why you have a red X? Or is the DOT wrong? I'd love to hear you say it's a mistake, like all the other airlines with green check marks. You say you don't charge extra for children who already paid for their ticket. But your airline seems to be charging anyway. Are you still doing that? It sounds like you are, but tell me I'm wrong. You're not wrong about the red X on the DOT tracker, Mr. Anderson admits. Why do you do that? Can you change that? Can you tell us right now that you'll do what other airlines do and stop charging families extra to sit with their kids? We're talking about children 13 and under. This isn't like an 18-year-old who probably doesn't want to sit with their parents anyway. I'm talking about little kids, like my 4-year-old daughter. I want her next to me. I already paid for her ticket. Why should I pay again? I don't understand. Yes, it's money, but don't you think keeping families together matters? The kids have already paid. Very important, he says. Good. Will you promise to end this extra fee policy? Senator, in practice, we already seat families together without extra fees. Our gate agents are trained and allowed to do that. But your policy still says you can charge. So will you say today that you'll stop doing that altogether? This could be a big moment, actual news. Yes. We will. There were some technology issues we're working on. We transformed our system. We'll look into this and explore the red X. Okay, well, maybe Congress just needs to make it a law then. You guys always say don't regulate us, but sometimes we have to. And this is one of those times. Let me ask about something else. And for the record, I think it's ridiculous that airlines charge families who already bought tickets extra money to sit with their little kids. That's basically making profit off families. I think it's predatory, actually really predatory. So let's talk about dynamic seat pricing, which both Frontier and Allegiant use. Tell me if I'm wrong. This is when you might charge me one price, Katie Britt another, and Cory Booker a third, all for the same seat, just depending on who's buying. It's not one set price. You're shaking your head, Mr. Biffle. So you don't do dynamic seat pricing, he asks. Let's clarify dynamic pricing, Biffle says. Prices change, but it's by route, not by individual customer. Okay, so you don't collect personal info before showing a price? No, we don't use personal info. But you do collect it. We collect it, but we don't charge differently. How do I know that? You collect zip codes, browser cookies, location info, search history, date of birth, all kinds of stuff. I have to enter all of that before I can see a seat price. And my price might not be the same as Cory's, depending on what I enter. We've been changing that, he says. Right now you need to enter date of birth to buy a ticket. That's an old tech thing. We're changing it so you won't need to enter much. We want you to search and click quickly. But why are you collecting all this personal information? How can I trust you're not using it to change prices? I guarantee we're not, he says. Well, that's what you say. Just like you guarantee your agents won't harass me, even though you pay them to do it. Don't you think you owe us proof? You make customers give you all this info before even seeing a price. We're in the process of removing that, he says. You won't need to enter personal info to see prices. We'll still need your date of birth before buying for security reasons, but we're stopping the rest. Mr. Anderson, what about you? Will you promise not to use personal info to set prices? Yeah, we don't plan to use personal info to set prices, he says. Do you collect personal info before showing prices? We do before seat selection, but that's to manage who can sit in exit rows. Mr. McGee, you mentioned this earlier. Do you want to speak to it? Yes, Senator. I was just on a big airline's privacy statement recently. If you print it, it's this long. It basically says they'll track what you do on their site from the first moment. How long you stay, what pages you look at, probably even the sites you visited before and after. It would blow people's minds to know what they collect. And that's before even getting into personal information as most people define it. This is why I warned that we need clearer language. If a shopper impulsively books after 5 minutes, why should they pay more than someone who shops for 3 days? That's surveillance pricing, personalized pricing, customized pricing. Whatever word you use, it's unfair, it's un-American, and it's going to get worse with AI. Ms. Picker, he continues, Delta said they're using AI now to set customized prices. Isn't that a terrible idea? She answers, they also made it clear their general counsel wrote to Congress that they do not use personal information. But how are we supposed to know that? AI's whole purpose is to use huge amounts of personal info to squeeze as much money as possible from each customer. Why else use it? Well, maybe we should define personal information more clearly, she says. Maybe we should just ban AI for pricing. Should we? AI has many benefits, she says. That's why we're committed to not using, he interrupts. Let's make it simple. Would your organization support banning AI for individualized seat pricing? No, why not? Because AI can be used in many ways, she says. Name one that's not about making airlines more profit at customers' expense. Efficiency, she replies. Efficiency means money. Profit for the airline. And you're not very good at that anyway, he says. I disagree. Our profit margins are miserably low. We don't even meet the average, she says. I find that hard to believe. But what is true is that flying for most Americans is awful. It's terrible. If you look at surveys, airlines are always at the bottom. People hate flying. They have to fly, but they hate it because of all the policies we've talked about today. You charge families to sit together, you collect personal data, you make people enter all this junk, you let employees bother them. And now you want to use AI to get every last penny out of them. It's awful. I've seen the data, he continues. I've talked to people all over my state. I've flown with my small kids. It's horrible. It needs to be better. And after what we've heard today, Congress has a lot of work to do to fix it. All right, guys, do I need to read a script? Anything special to close this hearing? The record will stay open. Questions for the record are due a week from now. Thank you to all the witnesses for being here. You all traveled to be here. Thanks to the audience for being polite. This hearing is adjourned.